soldiers on a grand paper plane, rolling dice to echo cannon's refrain. Kingdoms rise within this tabletop dust. In strategy and chaos we place our trust. The generals lean with a calculating stare. Hands of fate guide moves with a flare. Tiny hills climb where valleys fall steep. Battles fought while the house stays asleep. Wargaming dreams on a six-sided star. In this microcosm we travel so far. Heroes die small but their legends grow large. In this tiny world we're always in charge. Commanders in coats of bold hue patrol the terrain in colors so true. Armies clash with a flick of the wrist. Victory's a mark on a checklist kissed. Dice are the drums of this parade of might. The board is the map glowing soft through the night. Imagination ignites where the pieces collide. A universe unfolds we cannot hide. 100 battles fought in one single room. Victories blazing, entropy and gloom. Armies may fade, but spirits don't rest. In the heat of this game we earners of trust. On a grand paper plane, rolling dice to echo cannon's refrain. Kingdoms rise within this tabletop dust. In strategy and chaos we place our trust. The generals lean with a calculating stare. Hands of fate guide moves with a flare. Tiny hills climb where valleys fall steep. Battles fought while the house stays asleep. Wargaming dreams on a six-sided star. In this microcosm we travel so far. Heroes die small but their legends grow large. In this tiny world we're always in charge. Painted commanders in coats of bold hue patrol the terrain in colors so true. Armies clash with a flick of the wrist. Victory's a mark on a checklist kissed. Dice are the drums of this parade of might. The board is the map glowing soft through the night. Imagination ignites where the pieces collide. A universe unfolds we cannot hide. 100 battles fought in one single room. Victories blazing, entropy and gloom. Armies may fade, but spirits don't rest. In the heat of this game we earners of trust. a grand paper plane, rolling dice to echo cannons refrain. Kingdoms rise within this tabletop dust. In strategy and chaos we place our trust. The generals lean with a calculating stare. Hands of fate guide moves with a flare. Tiny hills climb where valleys fall steep. Battles fought while the house stays asleep. Wargaming dreams on a six-sided star. In this microcosm we travel so far. Heroes die small, but their legends grow large. In this tiny world we're always in charge. Commanders in coats of bold hue patrol the terrain in colors so true. Armies clash with a flick of the wrist. Victory's a mark on a checklist kissed. Dice are the drums of this parade of might. The board is the map glowing soft through the night. Imagination ignites where the pieces collide. A universe unfolds we cannot hide. 100 battles fought in one single room. Victories blazing, entropy and gloom. Armies may fade, but spirits don't rest. In the heat of this game, we earners of trust.
Can't hear me. Okay, there we go. I was afraid the mic wasn't picking me up. All right, let me get rid of this headset. And we'll get started here in just a few minutes. I was listening to the intro music as I was preparing for the stream. Yeah, I've got some. There you can see I've got I got 6 legions on the table. Let me get rid of these rubber booties on my fingers. I put these rubber booties on my fingers primarily to keep the band-aids from coming unraveled. I also put them on fingers that I think might get blisters in my average everyday life, you know. Okay, so we're going to put these gloves on to do exactly what those rubber booties did, but with a little bit more finesse or what have you. What I'm planning on doing tonight, or today I should say, is cutting out all these decals. Do I think I'm going to be able to cut them all out today? No. The last time I did a stream, I only cut out 2 legions worth. So if I get 2 legions cut out, okay, I plan to stay on for about 2 hours. Okay, till about 11, maybe 12. My fingers, what is going on with my finger? It doesn't want to go into that hole. Okay. Now we're in, sort of. No? Yes? Maybe. Okay, let me rephrase that. I want to stream for about 2 hours today. Um, I might stream longer, but I also might stream less. It just depending on how I feel. I'm not feeling 100% today, just throwing that out there. Some days I feel really good, and some days I don't. Um, Today my stomach is giving me some grief, and mainly my bowels, where I might have to go run to the bathroom a number of times. That's not going to stop me from streaming. Running to the bathroom's not. You'll just have to um, not see me stream, while I'm gone to the bathroom. Okay, so okay, let's. I guess I could talk while I'm cutting. And what I'm planning on doing is painting all of these legions. Maybe I'm going to paint all 8 at the same time. Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully, whatever I just heard fall into the trash was metal or dirt or something from the table, not any part of the decal. Even though a full decal sheet from Little Big Men is, you're looking at 30 wait, 5 times 6, yeah, 30 decals. I'm not going to need 30 decals. How many do I need? 8 and 8 is 16. And 6 is 22. And one more is 23. So this legion needs 23. Yeah, I'm fighting the urge to get up and go run to the bathroom right now. I just came back from the bathroom. That's why I feel like I shouldn't need to go run to the bathroom. But I also just ate. And a lot of times, right after I eat, my body tells me it's time to go use the bathroom. Within an hour, usually. Within an hour of eating, I usually have to make a trip to the bathroom. I apologize for all this TMI, but if you're watching my stream, you've probably run into this already a couple of times where I have to get up and go run to the bathroom. I just want to explain myself, you know. But I've also noticed that if I can resist 15, 30 minutes, it'll go away. But on the other hand, I don't want to have an accident. You know? Okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to go. I don't want to have an accident. It'll take just a couple of minutes. All right. No accident. All right, I'm back. Sorry, guys. I might happen again, though. I might have to get up and take care of business again. Because my body is, not my own. Let's see if this helps at all. I don't know if you can hear my stomach. It's making all kinds of growling noises and gurgling sounds. And what's funny is, and I don't know what it is, but it's like my body knows when I hit go live. As soon as I hit go live, my body says, aha, now's our chance. Let's mess with him. Because up until pressing the go live button, I was doing okay. I was like, I'm feeling good. I'm gonna go do some miniatures and talk on camera and share my thoughts with people, and then I hit go live, and then my body says, nope, you are under our control. Like that show, Osmosis Jones. Got a little bandit group in my gut. So, back to miniatures. We can talk a little bit about Victrix, and pillage, etc. So, Wargames Atlantic, right? They've got this Baron's War, and they also have some medieval miniatures. So I was thinking of ordering a few editions of Baron's War and selling those alongside Pillage and maybe Ruckus. I'm not sure about that one though. So I sold out of Pillage like instantly. The same day I put it on my eBay store, I sold out of all my books. So I went to put in another order. But I didn't add any Pillage books to it because that second order was placed while the first order was still in transit. So I'm still out of Pillage. I've already put in another order to get more Pillage miniatures and books. I just haven't. I got the email this morning, telling me what the cost is. So as soon as I pay it, which is not paid, as soon as I pay it, within a day or two, they'll ship it. And then usually within a week after they ship it, even through customs and everything, I'll still receive it. So I need to get that paid like ASAP so I can get those books in ASAP. And then maybe next month do a War Games Atlantic order and get Baron's War in. I've already contacted War Games Atlantic. I told them that I wanted to do an order. War Games Atlantic has a very let me see if I can share this with you. Different companies have different ways, processes for putting an order in with them. Victrix sends an email with the invoice. Which that's a really good way to do it. Because right there on the invoice, they got a button that says pay this invoice or something like that. You just click it and it takes you to their payment screen, and then you just pay it. And it's super simple. Some companies don't do it that way. They send you a spreadsheet. I'm talking to you, Warlord Games, Plastic Soldier Company. They send you a spreadsheet. You have to fill the spreadsheet out and send it back to them. And then they send you the invoice. Plastic Soldier Company requires payment immediately. Warlord Games gives you 30 days to pay. So they actually ship off your stuff and then bill you. Or at least for me anyway. And I'm okay with that too. But lately, every time I've been trying to pay my Warlord invoice, it doesn't process properly. So I've had a Warlord invoice for a month now. It's late, but I've tried to pay it like twice. Just as long as they don't hold that against me, we're all good. Everything's good. Uh-oh, somebody's home. You have a short day?
What?
Did you have a short day?
No, I didn't go to work.
Oh, okay.
Down this one.
Oh, okay.
We had to fix the food and I'm fixing it.
Left at the same time. Oh, well, yeah. I wasn't watching to see what she was dressed in on the way out. She left at the same time that she normally goes to work, so I just assumed. School teacher, that is, you know. Okay, so basically I've got an invoice with Victrix out, and I just need to pay it so that they can ship it to me. That's going to have more pillage. But my what I wanted to talk about was these Romans, actually. I don't want to talk about Victrix. That seems to be occupying my day-to-day. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. My stomach is settling down. Maybe that kaopectate helped actually quite a bit. Or maybe it was just I had to run to the bathroom and take care of business. And that handled it. But these Romans, right? I don't know if I'm putting them together for Meg. I don't know if you're familiar with Meg, but Mortem et Gloriam. It's an excellent medieval and ancients rules. If it's the sword and shield era, then it's a really great set of rules. I highly, highly recommend them for your mass battles. It's not a skirmish game. This is not your SPQR. This is not your ruckus. You know, it's none of those. It's not your, what is that other skirmish game that's, it's not your Lion Rampant. It's more like Field of Glory or Armadi, or you can even think of it like Napoleon's Battles or whatever. It's mass combat. You're not moving cohorts around like Hail Caesar. You're moving actual legions around. Each unit that you move is a legion or a war band or something like that. Hail Caesar, right? 24 figures. About the same number as these guys. Approximately. Would be a maneuver element. It's a unit that you move around on the table. It's like 6 bases and you move them around in a clump, which is awesome. But there's this book called Caesar in Gaul, right? And it has a bunch of scenarios, and if you play them in sequence, they have like, I'm trying to remember, I think they have like chapters where, like in the first chapter you might have like 3 or 4 of the missions. In the second chapter you got another 3 or 4 missions, etc. And each chapter is like a specific campaign element. And you could play just each chapter separately, like 4 battles, and then that would be the entire campaign. Or you could play all of them to simulate all the battles that Caesar participated in, or at least the ones in the book, because I know of a couple more that are not in the book, just off the top of my head. But my point is, in that book, it kind of gives you an understanding of scale. So like if you have 5, I think it's 5 units in that book, it counts that as a legion. Yeah, I think it actually. I think it's like you have you have the overall commander. You have they have 3 legions, and each legion has like 5 to 6 units in it. So that tells me that the game Hail Caesar is about one. It's about one level smaller than Meg, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That I love Hail Caesar. I think it's a good set of rules. Um, I don't mind the scale at which it's representing. Um, yeah, I quite like it actually. But if I'm going to play a miniatures game with blocked units in the ancient era, I think I would prefer to play Meg. But I have to understand that Meg is a much larger battle. It doesn't have to be larger. Because you could play with just 3 units on a side. That is doable. Not preferable, though. You could play Meg with just 1 unit on the side. So I'm getting to my point. So my Republican Romans, that's these guys. And we'll call them Caesarians, or we might call them Marian Romans. It just depends on who you ask. There was a period around 50, I think it's 50 AD, I think, where Romans went through, their army went through a big update, a big revival or reimagining, reorganization. And I think this happened during Marian's reign, and that's why they call it Marian Romans. And that was the Romans that Caesar commanded. But it was still part of the Republic. The Empire didn't happen until after. So they took all the Principes and the Hastati and the Triarii, and they combined them into one type of unit called Legionnaire. So basically, everybody in the Legion knew everybody else's job. Or basically, they fought in a specific way where they didn't need to have differently trained or differently equipped troops. Everybody could be equipped the same. The shields were exactly the same. Asdati and Principes all used the same shield. Triarii as well. And those didn't update or change. Those shields are exactly the same. The only thing that really changed was the Hastatis stopped wearing breast. I mean, they're not even legitimately called breastplates because they're only the size of a dinner plate on their chest. So you could call it a breastplate, but it's not like what you would think of a breastplate, like what the officers would wear. Everybody started wearing chainmail. The so in Meg, you've got mid-Republicans, which are the guys, Principe, Hastati, Triarii, those guys. That army is called the mid-Republicans. And then the Legionnaires that I'm doing right here are late Republicans. So that's how they identify the armies. In the game, the mid-Republicans fight in a very specific way. Heavy infantry. You know, they're all compact. For the mainline guys, you know, the Principes, Hastati. But in the late Republicans, because of the reforms, the legionaries can fight a variety of different ways because they know how to be a Triarii, they know how to be a Stadi, a Principe. So in the game, they're given a skill called, or a I don't know if it's a skill, but they give them an identifier that they call them versatile. And what that means is they can form up as heavy infantry or medium infantry. The advantage is heavy infantry get a bonus in melee, where medium infantry get a bonus for movement. They might call them flexible, not versatile. I might be getting my rules mixed up. I think it's flexible. So what that means is your unit, half of the unit have 4 figures on a base, and the other half have 3 units on a base. 3 figures on a base. That's why you see these are 8 and these are 6 because they're flexible. These guys. And they're not always the same because some of the commanders I put on there might or might not have a shield. And I think there's a round shield. Oh, it was probably that round shield that was on here. That fell in the trash. Yeah, I had this really tiny round shield. It popped up one of the models. But it's not necessary. I'm not going to cry about it. All right, so 16, 22, 23. So this one has the same number. Okay, if I burn through this, then I only need to cut off the top portion of this. I was thinking I could just cut that and then just have 2 of those, but I think it would be better just to have 1 sheet. So this is 14. Right? So that only needs to be 9, I think, if my math is right. 23, 14, 9. Yeah. That leaves me with this, which is another 21. Okay. Okay, so the in Meg, you have different army sizes, size categories, or I guess game sizes. So you can play Pacto. Pacto is just Latin for compact. And it means small or compact. And so you can, your army, it's great for tournaments and traveling and stuff like that, because the map that you play on is only about a 3x3, maybe even smaller. It might be a 2x3. And then the units are only usually 2 or 3 bases for a unit. So it's a lot faster to put together an army hypothetically, and this is something I've considered doing, is just making a Pacto army for all the factions that I want to play. You know, Carthaginians, Persians, Macedonians, Romans, Germanics, British Celts, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? Well, and then once you get a compact of everything, then there's no rush. You can just add on bases to make it a Magna army, and then add more bases to make it a Maximus army. But I know how I paint. I know my habits. I know my limitations. If I don't paint something in one batch, then the second time I paint the same models, there's going to be a slight difference. Either I used a different red when I should have used bright red. I might have used dark red or deep red. And then instead of gunmetal, I might have used steel or something, right? And so what happens is I'll have multiple bases and they'll all have a slightly different appeal or appearance. And I don't want that. I want my legions to be very thematic. I want them all to look the same. So I abandoned that idea. And just as a general rule of thumb, the Maximus army is a 1-to-1 of the army that Neg wants you to field, right? Of course, the most figures, the biggest playing area, you know, the most spectacle, that's the Maximus army. You take 2/3 of that and that is a Magna army. And then 1/3 of the original is a Pacto army. I'm leading up to something about these legions here in just a minute. I'm kind of filling air time while I cut these out, and it's going to lead up to me talking about these legions. So if you think of it like 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3 of the army, that is the way Pacto, Magna, and Maximus work. But sometimes the army list, if you will, gives you options when doing a legion. And I'm using the Romans as an example because I've got Romans on the table. And it's the most identifiable ancient army. So, like, as an example, a Pacto army is 2 bases. That is your legion. A Magna army, 4 bases, is your legion. And then in Maximus, you would think it would be 6 bases, which it is. You can actually field a 6-base legion, but they give you the option to field an 8-base legion. So in Maximus, you can do like 6 or 8. I think in Magna, I think you can do a 4 or 6. I don't know. I don't have the army list right in front of me, and I haven't looked at it in a while. But the reason why I say this is because every one of these legions are 8 bases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're the maximum for a Maximus army. And there is a legion limit. Let me rephrase that. That's not how it's limited. There is a total number of bases limit. So if you're building a Maximus army, you can have some legions with 8, some legions with 6. You can have as many bases total up to a limit, and then that could be your army, right? Plus, they have a special added basis that you can add if you're fielding the 10th Legion. Basically, you can have one additional Legion of the 10th, because the 10th was thought to be the best of the best. And they give them special characteristics in Meg. Okay, so, but in general, I think it's 10 legions is the max. It's 80 bases, I think. Now, if I was fielding 6 base legions, I could get more than 10 legions. They would be, but they would be a little bit weaker. They would only have 6 bases instead of the full 8. But you would have more of them. And some people might say that's more versatile. You know, you can spread them out and do more things with them if you have more units. And another way to think about it is with 8 bases, you're able to maintain control over them because there's less units to have to deal with. Because in Meg, you can only move a certain number of units per turn. And so it's good to have less units because you can you'd be able to move them all. But then they have another rule called what's it called? But it's like movement by division, where you have a whole bunch of units all touching each other in a line. They can be moved as one unit. It's not worth it to do that with 2 units, but it is worth it if you have 3 or more units. And the reason why I say that, it costs 1 extra unit's movement to move it as a group like that. So if you've got 1 for the group, you need 1 more to make it a combined movement. And if you've only got 2 units, well, that was a waste because you already have 2 movements. So depending on how you put your battle lines together, you should be able to move them all. But sometimes no. And if you have too many units spread out, like you're trying to do the left and right flank or something like that, then you're going to struggle. So there's advantages to both. And funny enough, the Romans succeeded both. They're like the Napoleonic French of the ancient period. They can do everything great. Okay, let me see if I can get a drink. So when I put these Romans together, I might have had a long-term plan in place, which I'm about to share with you now. After that preamble, I already have two. Yeah, I already have 2 legions painted and put in the in the tub. So if I was to paint these, I would have a total of 8, right? These 6 plus the other 2. What is that, 50, 64 or something like that bases? I don't know how many I'm allowed to have actually. But I thought that 8 legions is going to be more than enough with a Maximus army. But I am not planning on playing Maximus. I'm planning on playing Magna, the 2/3. So if I take all 8 legions and I half them, because in Magna you can have a 4 base legion, and if these are 8, I can go 4 and 4. I'll basically have 16 legions. Now, I'll never field 16 legions in one army. I might field 10 plus the 10th, a total of 11 legions, maybe. You know what? I'm going to bring up the army list here in just a minute, just to refresh my memory. But I'm going to trim these first. Because I hate leaving something half finished. So basically, I'll be able to do 2 Republican Roman armies with 8 legions each. Not counting the cab and everything else. That's one reason why I like doing Maximus armies. Because you can break them down. You don't have to use all the bases. You know what I mean? But the reason why I even considered it, because I could do half as many legions and do the same thing, right? But I considered it because there are some Roman Civil War, where it's Rome versus Rome. And I want to make sure I've got enough to be able to put legions on both sides of the table. And if I wanted to play Hail Caesar using the bases from Meg, a Hail Caesar unit is 6 bases. And there are 15 units of standard Roman legionnaires in every one of those scenarios. If I was to take okay, so 15 times 6, what is that? 6, that's 90 bases? Is that right? 6 times 5 is 30 per unit. And then 3 units, that's 90 bases. How many bases of these Romans am I doing? What's 8 times 8? I don't think it's 90. So I would have to use some Roman bases from my mid-Republicans. If I wanted to do some Hail Caesar battles. Just think about that. You're a war gamer. You play Hail Caesar because you like Warlord games and you're a Warlord Games fanboy or whatever. Black Powder and Bolt Action and Hail Caesar. And you want to play the very first scenario in the Caesar in Gaul book. There are 3 legions with 5 units per legion. You need 90 models just for the Roman legionnaires. Not 90 models, 90 bases. 15 units. And you go to buy the Roman Legionnaires from Warlord Games. They come 1 unit per box. And that box is $40. So $40 times 15 units. What is that, $600? $600 just for the Roman legionnaires. Don't forget the Gauls and the Numidians and the bolt throwers and the generals. So I'm going to say approximately $1,000. Just to play one half of the first scenario. To me, that's pretty expensive. Am I willing to do it? Yeah, I've done it already. I've already played that first scenario, and I fielded both sides. I fielded all the Germans and all the Romans in 28 millimeter. We played Hail Caesar down at the club. I considered it a demo game to show everybody how to play. Okay. That took about as long as I thought. An hour and a half to cut out. And we'll call that less than an hour and a half, because I had to go run and use the bathroom. So we'll call it about an hour to do 2 units. Okay, so I'm going to bring up on the screen for you the Meg army list for late Republican Romans. Let me kind of move some of this stuff out of my way. Let's get that over there. Ancients. Oh, and plus, oh yeah, I almost forgot. They have the 2025 army lists out. I haven't really taken a look at those yet. Are we going Pacto Magna? Pacto Magna. We're going Magna. Magna, not Maximus. There's Magna. Medievals, Asia, early medievals, classical. Magna, classical. I think that's what I'm looking for. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I must be hitting the wrong button. What's going on? That should do it. Okay, so which army are we looking at? We're looking at this Italian one right here. But doesn't matter. Let's go here, which you can't really see, but every army has a number by it. I think my army is 25 something. I'm going to scroll down. Here it is, 25. Yep. Later Republican Roman is 2514. I don't think you can see everything. I know for a fact you can't see everything. There you go. Okay, so if you don't understand this army list and how it works, uh, the last couple of columns are the main ones to look at for organizing your army. Don't worry about the points or, their abilities or their armor or whatever. The main thing you want to look at is UG size and minimum and maximum number of bases. All of this is how many bases you're allowed. So just using the heavy cab as an example, you're allowed to have a minimum of 0 and the maximum is 4, but your unit has to be 4 bases. So you're immediately going to be at maximum. So you can make 1 unit of 4. Okay, but here we go. Legionaries, right there. Okay, 56. I can have 56 bases, and my UG size is 4, not 6. And then this down here is a separate line. This is an upgrade. That means it changes other bases. So I could upgrade my legionaries to veteran, but I can only do 16 of them. Where the 10th Legion is totally different. That's not an upgrade. It just says Caesar's 10th Legion. It's just like as if it was heavy cap. You're allowed to have 1 unit of 4 bases. So what is 56 divided by 4? Is that 12? No. What? 4? I don't know. I'm doing math on the top of my head. I can't do that. I'm a retard. I can't do that math. So 56 divided by 4 is 14. So you can have 14 and 1 more. So a total of 15 units. And remember, doing 8 full-size units, it's going to allow me to do 16. So I just have a 4-figure unit that I'm not using. And that doesn't count like the Spanish or the Thracians or the Gaelic foot or archers, which you can bet your bottom dollar I'm adding those to my army, especially the bolt throwers, javelin men. These are actually going to be Numidians. Depending on the year, you might be limited on what you're allowed to pick. But this says I can have up to 6 bases, but they're either going to be 4 or 6. So if I have a 4 unit Numidian, that'd be fine. Or if I have a 6, that would be fine. Because that's less than 6. And it says 0 to 6. As opposed to the Legions, you have to have at least 3 units of legionary. Okay, so you can have an army of just 3. And nothing else. Everything else is 0 up to something. Yeah, so I'm not going to have 15. Just imagine having 14 units. You don't have to have 14. So I can have 2 armies with 8 during a civil war. Right? Or less. I can go with 4 or 5 or whatever I have available. Okay, so let me take a look at my mid-Republicans. Okay. So I could have elephants. No, but you, what? My hand is all over the place. Okay. And so this is this is organized a lot differently. Um, Hastati and Principes are all close. So is Triarii. That's also close. Flexible is what I was talking about. Half close, half spread, right? Loose, I guess, is what you would call it. And the way this is also 4. You can have 10 legions of 4. You'll notice this doesn't have numbers, but it does say Triarii, if combined with a tug of 5, 4 Hastati and Principe and 1 Triarii. Okay, so I still think it's a total of 40 bases. So that's only going to be like 8 units of 5. And I think the Triarii here can be deployed separately as a unit of 4. They can be deployed separately or combined, but you're only allowed to have 1 Triarii for every 4 Hastati. So I'm not sure what they're... If I was to game the system, and I try to do that, try to look to see where the holes in the system might be. If I make my units just Hastati and Principe without Triarii, and I go to 40 bases, and then I come over here where it says Triarii, they may be deployed separately. The number of Triarii cannot exceed 1/4 of the number of Hastati and Principe. So 10 bases, which would only be 2 units because there are 4 each. And then it tells you where they have to be deployed and all that. Okay, so I could technically squeak out a couple of extra units if I did it that way, but then they wouldn't be in the unit. Wait, veteran Hastati, Principe. That doesn't say upgrade. It doesn't say upgrade. Oh, it does right here. Upgrade. Ah. So if you get this, that's an upgrade. Maximum. Okay. An upgrade is a change to a unit, not a separate unit. And I think this Thoriophori, I think Victrix just released some miniatures of those guys, which I ordered. But either way, I'm building late Republican. Okay, got that out of the way. So 14 plus 1. Trying to remember which buttons I'm supposed to be pressing. That's Magna. That was Magna. In Maximus, I'm just going to quickly look. Army lists. They separate it. It's in Italy. All I'm worried about right now is late Republican. What's cool about the Maximus army lists are between each army, they give you like a little history of what battles they were in and why you can use certain army troop types and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's where I got that 80. But see, I could, okay, 4, 6, and 8. So in Maximus, I can deploy them as units of 4. That means I'm going to have 20 of these units running around. Isn't it? Yeah. But I'm not. I plan to do 8s if I do them. And then here's the 10th Legion. The 10th Legion can be a 4 or a 6. So that's 10 units, and I'm only doing 8 maximum units. So I'm not going to have a full collection of Maximus Republican legionaries, but I don't need to. Okay, let me close all that. Let me put that back there. Okay. I am sweating. I'm sweating. Where I'm burning up. I'm not actually sweating, but I am burning. Let me take this off. The time is almost 11. Yeah. How fast I can do my 3rd unit. $16, $22, and see those 2 more? That's 20. And these are 2 full sheets. No, that's not 20. Hold on. 5 across, 4 down, that's 20. And then 4. This is an extra sheet. I might be able to sell this. Because I don't think I'm going to need it for my other Republicans. They're pretty much already done. I think. Might have to do an evaluation when I get done with these late Republicans. But I was thinking about proxying my mid-Republicans as late Republicans just to fill out units but only if I'm doing a like a Civil War scenario. I could have, and if I wanted to do a hypothetical, I could do an actual mid-Republican army against a late Republican army. And my Germans are pretty much finished. Macedonians are finished. Yeah, Germans and Macedonians are definitely finished. And the Macedonians, I put it together as a Maximus army. I was putting the Germans together as a Maximus army. But I gave up and started putting them together as a Magna. Mainly because their units have so many figures in them and a bunch of bases in them. So it was just a ton of models for the German horde. I don't know if you heard any of that because my mic was on the other side of the room. Yeah. So the next time I stream, might be Monday. For maybe for Wargaming and miniature. For miniatures themselves. For these guys. Hopefully I'll have all of them cut out already. And I'll be ready to start affixing the decals to the models. That's going to be a whole nother time. One unit a day kind of thing. With 8 units, it's going to be a week. Just to get the decals affixed. But luckily, once the decals are all affixed, I can put that in the back of my mind as an accomplishment, and then get to painting the models. Which won't take any time at all, actually. Romans are actually some of the easiest models to paint. got a lot of exposed skin, like their legs and their arms. And then it's almost all chainmail. So I guess it's not as easy as a medieval knight, but it's pretty close. You do the exposed skin, you do it the toga, which I'm going to do in a variety of colors, mostly white and red, but I'll do some in yellow, some in blue. I don't know if I'm going to do any in green. I might do some in green. I don't know. And then throw the chainmail on there, and then you're almost done. Helmet and greaves are bronze. Pilums are wood and metal, and gladius is wood and metal and bronze or brass. And then you're pretty much done. The hardest part is the decal. Now I could paint the model and then come back later and do decals later, do them afterwards. But once the decal is applied and the sealant and the decal set and all that is on there and everything is melted into place, I'm going to have to go back and paint the spline of the shield, the boss, and the edges that the decal didn't completely cover. So there's going to be some touch-up paint work along the outer edge. And then I got to paint the back of the shield. Mostly wood, but sometimes like red velvet or whatever. A red linen. So if I'm going to have to go back and paint the shield after the decal, why not just do all the painting together? The shield, the armor, the everything. Because like when I do the helmet and the greaves and any breastplates that the officers might have, I can do the shield bosses at the same time. I need to do the spline though before I do the boss. Just because of layering. just because of the way everything lays out. I've got a couple of legions that I'm doing that have these white shields. Believe it or not, it's not white. It's like an off-white. It's a very dirty white. So I will have to paint. I can't rely on the white base coat. I'll use a little white gray or something, whatever I've got. That's kind of like a really off-white. Beige is not the right color. It is off-white though, but it's not the right color. A gray-white is what I'm looking for. So I was thinking about playing some Star Citizen this afternoon. Going back to the ASD facility and trying to finish that last room. That's causing me some serious heartache. But I also need to work on like Pendragon Game Master shield that I am making. I want to put a little work in on that because we've got a Pendragon game tonight. One thing about these decals, as I'm cutting out around the blue or whatever the shield pattern, you don't have to be perfect. Closer the better, but you don't have to be perfect. And the reason why is the part that's not the shield pattern is clear. So when you apply the decal to the shield, if it's not part of the shield pattern, it'll disappear. And you'll probably have to paint over it anyway to get the shield and the decal to mesh up. So even if it was white, you would just be painting over it anyway. But it's not white, it's clear. Once I get these guys cut in half, because they go on both sides of the shield, then they become a little bit too small to handle. I mean, they become way too small. And I wouldn't be able to handle them with these gloves. I'm going to have to take these gloves off and use my bare flesh. The downside to that is I could get blisters, but if I was using gloves, the sticky part of the decal, because these are not water slide decals, these are press-ons, and they have a sticky part like a sticker. They would stick to the glove, and then that would be the end of the decal. While I'm cutting out this last thing, I want to talk about, I'm getting ready to log out, but I want to talk about some video reviewers. Not by any names or anything. They made me laugh. Not in a bad way, not in a good way. I just noticed a state of our society that has changed. Not for the better, not for the worse. It just shows my age, really. So, I don't know if you guys have seen Superman yet. There is a scene in Superman where he is under the pavement and he is tunneling out from underneath a monster's foot, like a Godzilla creature's foot. And as he's tunneling, the bricks bulge up and there's a mound, and this mound kind of comes across the bricks, and then at the very last second he shoots out of the ground and flies up to fight this monster. Totally okay with all that. So now I'm watching these YouTubers watch Superman for the first time, and they comment on this tunneling action and the guy jumping out. 2 reviewers said the same thing, and nobody said what I was thinking. Okay, so here's the thing. All of them said, "Oh, that's funny. That looks exactly like the Dune worm." Okay. They said, "That looks like the Dune worm. How it tunnels under the ground and then..." Okay. That's not what I thought when I saw it. Dune was not the first thing that popped into my mind. Bugs Bunny was what popped into my mind. You know, Take a Left at Albuquerque. You know, that whole Bugs Bunny digging under the ground, leaving a mound where he goes, running into stuff like rocks or whatever, poles stuck in the ground. These YouTubers didn't even consider that, or my thought is they've never seen that. They've never seen Bugs Bunny. That's because if they had ever seen Bugs Bunny, that would have been where their mind went. But they're millennials or whatever they are, Gen Z, or I don't even know my generations. They are so out of touch with the older cartoons or older pop culture. They've seen the Dune movies, which came out in the last few years, and that's what they went by. I am sure, 100% sure, that James Gunn did not think Dune when he wrote that into his movie. I am 100% sure that he was thinking Bugs Bunny. Why? Because he's my generation. And he's got the same kind of like comic book awareness that I have. And so when these kids said Dune, I was like, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. All right, guys, I am done for the day. Let's see what time it is. That took me about 30 minutes. Okay, that took me about 30 minutes to do one. That's good. That means I could do the next in probably an hour and a half. Let's slide this under there. Yeah, I don't want to stack them if it's going to, I can stack it this way. There we go. I might go get something to eat, something small for lunch. Stay tuned. Make sure you hit the notification icon if you're interested in me maybe playing some Star Citizen tonight, but I definitely will play later tonight, like after midnight. So that's when I normally play. But I've got a Pendragon game tonight, and I want to make sure I'm ready and able to play that, run that game. So I'll catch you in the next one. You guys have a good night, good day, good afternoon, good whatever, good morning.